time aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. I have just landed mere minutes ago, maybe a little over an hour ago, in a land far, far away from you, Mr. Kerr. And all the Hyatt haters will jump on and say that I got a super awesome upgrade because I'm some big fancy blogger. But the reality is, sir, I am sitting in a beautiful room in one of my favorite places in the entire world for conference week. And it's not Noonan, Georgia. I know you think it's Noonan, Georgia. It's not Noonan, Georgia.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Nope. I am in Lisbon at the new Hyatt Regency Lisbon, which is a beautiful property. It's not located downtown. It's more like, I would call it Bellum. Have you been to Lisbon?
I have not been to Portugal.
Oh, it's killer. That's food, man. The food is awesome. Anyway, so it's a little bit outside of town, so it's not it's not a ideal location if you want to be right in the middle of everything. But there's a really good train and bus network in Lisbon. I have stayed downtown a number of times when I've been here before because I love Lisbon. But this is a new property. I figured to give it a try, and I have, as you can see behind me, an incredible, massive suite right on the water here by the big bridge. I can see a sailboat, Richard, serenely wandering by as we talk.
That'll be me one day. I'm just pulling it up on Google Maps here so I can see. That's kind of always my question. As I've gotten older and I'm not near as old as Ed. In the last couple of years, I have just made convenience the number one thing for all travel. So, like, if I'm going to a place to see the place, then I'm probably staying downtown. But if you're going for a conference and it's something cool to check out, and you've got like a mansion behind you, then sweet. It looks pretty cool.
Well,
it looks like you'd have a great
conference,
view. Yeah,
I do have a great view, yes. And where the conference is, there's really no hotels on that side of town, so you're staying somewhere in town. And like I said, there's a train station right outside the hotel.
Easy, convenient public transportation to the airport?
Yes. Well, not to this hotel. So it's yes and no. So it's easy. It's not short. You have to make one connection. So it's about a 20 to 25 minute Uber ride, and it's closer to like a 45 to 50 minute train ride. So it's definitely longer by train.
In the matter of convenience, we'll take the Uber. But man,
to get from the airport to the hotel, I did take an Uber. But the entire week, I don't know if they still have it, but the last time I attended this conference, I just bought a weekly pass on the public transit, and I just used the train the whole time. So, and there's some cool trolley cars and trams and stuff like that.
I love cities where the airport is not an hour and a half ride away.
No, it's pretty close.
Yeah. Istanbul looking at you with, again, love the new airport, but good gracious, is it so far away? And then heard about the new Siem Reap airport has been kind of across the news today in Cambodia. And it's an hour and 15-minute ride from the new airport to the city. Like, just no. Like,
that's just horrible.
Yeah,
that's
just
horrible.
No. So looking at the airport here, or the map of Lisbon, looks super convenient. And you're there not for a travel conference, correct? This is your day job kind of ish conference?
Day job, yeah. The conference is called Web Summit. It's actually one of my favorite conferences. It's the last time I was here, there were something in the neighborhood of 6,000 startups presenting. Like, you can't even see all of them. They get like a 3-foot wide plywood booth, and they rotate on a daily basis. So there's tons of that. There's also a lot of great keynote speakers here. It always have been in the past. So it's a really good conference for the day job. And, food is incredible. One of my favorite seafood restaurants in the entire world, and probably one of my favorite restaurants in the entire world, is here. And I was turned on to it by our good friends from the Flight Deal. It's called Cerveceria Romero. If you're ever here, it's an unbelievable seafood joint. Unbelievable.
The headline on the website of the conference is "Where the Future Goes to Be Born."
I think I'm already born, and I'm well past the future, but yes.
Hope you enjoy Lisbon. How did you get there? Because you literally, as time recording, walked in your hotel room 30 minutes ago.
Yes, I did walk into my hotel room 30 minutes ago. So I took the nighttime flight out of Dulles to London because that was what I could get using plus points at confirmed time of booking. And I for so many reasons, I hate that flight. It's too short of a flight to Europe. It's it's always packed with people. But there were no daytime flights this time of year. Dulles, I had to go to Newark, which I didn't love. The flights to Lisbon were more expensive, and I couldn't find upgrade inventory. So this was the choice. And then I connected from London Heathrow to Lisbon. They're both Terminal 2s, United and TAP Portugal. And I actually was able to snag one of the throne seats on the A321neo. I was surprised that they were running that between London and Lisbon. They run that between Dulles and Lisbon and Newark and Lisbon. It's a really comfortable seat. So I was able to snag that and catch a second nap because I didn't sleep great on the first flight. And we were talking about this in pre-show that you really like the Polaris seat.
Again, I've only flown it once, and that was the daytime flight from London back to Dulles. But man, from takeoff roll until 5 hours later, I didn't move and thought it was super comfortable. Granted, I did have the actual memory foam pillow and the duvet and everything, but so I'm surprised to hear that you don't like that seat.
Yeah, and let's get to that in 1 second. Let me just tee up for folks. If you're just tuning in, he is at Kerr Points on all those social media platforms. I am at Pizza in Motion on all of those same places. If you want to leave us a voicemail or text us, you can do that at 571-293-6659, and we're going to answer a listener question in just a second. You can also shoot us an email, ed@pizzainmotion.com. We're going to talk a little bit about some United changes, might get into some Hyatt stuff. But on the Polaris seat, I think the seat is great for daytime flights. I'm not one that normally cares about a narrow footwell because I'm not, 6'5". You've met me. So that part isn't an issue. I kind of find that just based on the way I lay in the seat, it's hard to describe, but I'm more of a side sleeper, and the way the seat comes together, I always find that my hip ends up just like in that spot where the two cushions come together. And after sleeping on my side for a few hours, I'm laying on like some piece of metal underneath the cushion, and it's just not terribly comfortable. Like, it's not horrible, but I can't sleep in that position for 9 hours.
Have you ever slept 9 hours on a plane? Because I have not.
Oh, Lufthansa business class, man, I'm out. And it's pretty much every Lufthansa business class seat. And I know you're gonna like, what? Because you like the
number one is 87 degrees on the plane. Absolutely not.
I pack a pair of shorts, man, and I'm good. Look, I mean, I do think it's somewhat seat specific with the Polaris, because there are sometimes where I don't have this issue. So it may just be that some of them are wearing out or something like that. But I think it's a great seat for daytime. I definitely prefer, so like if you've flown Polaris, you've got seats that face straight forward and seats that face into the aisle. I strongly prefer the seats that face forward because people don't bump you going by in the aisle. When you're facing towards the aisle, you're like right up against it. If somebody is like coming up the aisle and somebody comes the other way, people will step into your seat and inevitably knock you while you're sleeping. So prefer the other seats more.
Yeah, granted, the one time I flew, I was in, let me see here, I think it's 1L. 1L is like where I want to be forever and ever.
1L, and then for the 787s, spoiler alert, there's that mid cabin door, which I think is row 9. So row 1 and row 9 are full bulkhead size footwells, so they're massive footwells, and you're still set aside from the aisle. 1 Alpha is usually reserved for crew rest. So 1 Lima, 9 Alpha, 9 Lima are, if there's a second bulkhead, are the 3 seats to angle for on the United Polaris.
Yeah, incredibly comfortable. All right, man. Well, I'm kind of jealous, although I did get to Europe a couple times this year, and actually might be another surprise trip here in December. Although kind of, I hope not. I'm tired. I just got home yesterday from 10 days of travel, man. So it's time to stick around here for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to cancel my Auckland trip. It's just December is getting crazy, and there's really no business reason for it. It was incredibly cheap fare and had plus points availability. I did get some side eye and some very sarcastic conversation from my wife about it, because I'm like, well, I'm going to cancel this trip. I was going to be gone like almost 6 days, like 5.5. And I'm like, well, like, if I'm going to be home, I've been looking for a time to like sneak down to Disney with Charlie and catch up with a couple of the friends that we met on Star Cruiser. So I'm like, all right, well, I can be home for that 6 days, and then we'll just sneak down to Disney for 2 days. And she's like, you're the only person I know who's like, okay, I'm not going to go away, but I'm going to go away. And I'm like, but I'm home 4 more days than I would have been before. And she's like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, it was all this very weird math where by trading a 5.5-day trip for a 2-day trip, I was still going to be gone. So I just stopped.
I teed up a softball for Mrs. Kerr last night, so got home yesterday at the time of recording. First of all, I did 2 conferences in a row, and so many people said they love the podcast. So everybody that pulled me aside, they didn't want to talk about building. They wanted to talk about the podcast, and they enjoyed listening to us. Had some great comments. I appreciate everybody listening. So got home last night, and like 8:30, put the kids to bed. Like 8:31, I'm crawling into bed. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Let me see how hard she smashes this." And I was like, I'm tired. Remember, I've been gone. The way she turned around, looked at me, was like, I know you've been gone. And I was like, there it is. Just making sure that you're ready to smash out. Although the kids and Emily did come up for a couple nights. Oh man, so my crazy trip.
They kind of did. Yeah, they kind of did. What made your week even crazier?
Crazier. Had a CardCon in Nashville. And again, it's a lot of everybody listening to the podcast. Appreciate you listening there. Pulled me aside in CardCon. CardCon said you enjoyed it. But because I knew was going to be gone for 10 days, I told Emily, hey, it's only about 4.5 hour drive from our home up to Nashville. I said, you and the kids have never hung out in Nashville, so come up to Asheville. I'll conference during the day. Then we'll hang out and do something fun in the afternoon and go to dinner at night, and y'all can do other fun stuff during the day while I'm conferencing. And that way we don't go 10 days without, being apart. So she said, great. So they came up first day, they did a couple museums, and then I took the kids to dinner. And then like about that afternoon, she was like, I'm not really feeling so good. And I was like, wow, because Mary had actually been sick the weekend before, but then it was fine by the time they went to Nashville. By the time the next day I got done with the conference, or like at 10:45, Emily in the morning just texted me. She's like, are you coming back? Because I can't move, and the kids are going crazy here in the room. We stayed at the Dream Nashville, which don't stay at the Dream Nashville. Lovely, lovely customer service, but it's 2023, ladies and gentlemen, and there's not a plug by the bed. I cannot comprehend this. Don't do it. It's a no-go for me. I'm not.
Kerr is off the rails.
I am not going and pulling headboards aside to find a place where I can charge my phone. Like, I just don't get it. So lovely customer service, literally friendly front desk, amazing people, but just the product is not there. So I was like, okay. So I left at 10:45 in the morning. I get back in the room, and Emily is literally just curled in a ball, like with the sheets all the way up around her nose and her mouth pulled tight. And she's looking at me, and I was like, oh boy, what are we gonna do here? So the kids were supposed to go home later that night. I was supposed to go to Asheville for the next conference. I was like, look, check a few things on Delta, check a few things with the hotel. Can we get out of here a night early? I was like, all right, I'm going to drive you guys home now, and then I've got to be back at the Atlanta airport by 6 o'clock to catch the last flight to Asheville. So we shove all of our stuff, shove it in the car again, go down the front desk. I was like, I got to check out a day early. Can we please not charge me for tonight? Like, my wife is sick, and we've got to leave. And the front desk man, she was perfectly lovely. Said, awesome. The only other problem is I just sent laundry away that morning because I've been gone for a week at this point. No, I'm probably never going to see those clothes again. So yeah, we get in the car, man. Drive. It ended up being almost 5.5 hours because of Atlanta traffic on a Thursday afternoon. We hit traffic like 2 hours outside of Atlanta. Brutally long to get everybody taken care of and get back to the airport to fly to Asheville. Dude, when I say I'm running on fumes at this point, like I was running on fumes before that, man. It was really long.
You've been gone. Like there was a lot before that. You've been traveling since the last time we recorded.
There was a lot before that. Yeah, there was. So we had everybody taken care of, and everybody's feeling better now. And then went and had a great couple nights in Asheville to go to the Travel MoreCon, the first Travel MoreCon conference, which is mainly creators that Ashley Peterson has put together. And it was a really great time speaking and meeting a lot of people that I've conversed with on Instagram for a long time. So great to see everybody and meet everybody. But man, it was so good to be home. And then Nashville, I don't know if I'm sure you spent time in Nashville, but I like one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. right now, I think. I mean, you can see the construction everywhere. I tell you what, man, I don't know. Like, there's some lovely people in Nashville that I even know who live there. But, man, it was a one and done for us. Like, it was not really a lot going on unless you just want to go get hammered on Broadway, or go to a concert. Like, that's cool. Like, there's amazing music venues and country music, obviously, and going down to Broadway. Besides that, like the museums the kids Emily went to, they were like, with like the Parthenon recreation thing. They're like, what? We don't get this. The river area, man, it's maybe just a sign of everywhere in America now. Just basically a homeless encampment where Emily was like, we went down and walked by the river, but it's just all homeless people sleeping in the grass areas by the park. And again, like, it's just, I think, where we are as a country right now with the amount of homeless people I see everywhere. But besides, it was kind of like, I don't like, all right, like I don't think Nashville's going to be on our, revisit list anytime soon. Got some great barbecue and some great hot chicken, but I don't know, man. What do you think about Nashville?
Yeah, I haven't been in. I was there right before COVID, and I'd been a number of times. I really do like old Nashville. So to your point, the barbecue, some of the places where they used to just have live music, stuff like that. Most of what I've heard about Nashville over the past few years makes it seem like a place that isn't quite what I'd be looking for. I mean, it was, used to be able to walk up and down the street and find bands nobody had heard of just playing in random bars and just sit and enjoy some music, grab a beer, and then sort of move on. I remember there were a number of times where we went, because there was a business that we were associated with there for a little while, and they would take us to, restaurants where it was literally somebody's house outside of town, and they would serve like a traditional Southern meal. It'd be fried chicken and sides and all that stuff, and you'd be sitting in like their living room or their kitchen, and it was very authentic. Really enjoyed that sort of a feel for it. Can't say I ever really enjoyed the glitz and glamour of downtown. That seems to have gotten bigger. So I think if I did go back, I'd stay on the fringes for the food. And that would be why I'd be going. So there is some decent barbecue down there. I think there's some incredible fried chicken. So
yeah, definitely had some good food. And then I'll give a shout out to our mutual friend Nicole Di Anderson. We threw the welcoming party for Wells Fargo for CardCon. Did get to meet Brett Young out at a farm in Lebanon, Tennessee, where Nicole had this amazing event. Got an authentic cowboy hat. She just went over the top. So that was an amazing event. So shout out to Nicole, and then Jason Steele, who organizes the CardCon conference. Got my little picture texted to me last night of me and Brett Young and made my sister incredibly angry that I get to do all this cool stuff. It was an amazing week, man. There was the TPG Awards where we saw each other last Monday in New York City, and my day job got to take home the award for the second year in a row.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, it was great. And then CardCon events, and then Asheville, and the fun stuff we did before. Amazing wedding I went to with my coworker. Best wedding band ever, man. This wedding band, like I was like, God, my 40th birthday party, you guys are hired. Like they were. It was a lady who was in Rent on Broadway is now doing this wedding band that's apparently like well known throughout Florida. And I mean, just God, man, they're freaking awesome. And then we obviously had the race, and so an incredible week. But man, it's great.
Oh well. And speaking of the TPG Awards, you talk about people who like, like we talk about this all the time. We are not what I would call celebrities, but we're at the TPG Awards, and there's a metric poop ton of people there. Like it's a big room. And more than once, I got pulled by random people in the room, like our good buddy Summer, and people are like, "Oh, I need you to come meet someone." And I'm thinking, all right, well, this is some sort of contact for this or that, because it's a good space to network. We had folks from Marriott there. I got to meet Chris, who's running the Advantage program, because they won an award as well, and I hadn't met Chris yet. But more than once, I got pulled over by Summer or Julian or whoever else. I don't think you pulled me over for this, but pulled me over. Hey, someone wants to meet you, and they come over like, "Oh my gosh, I love the podcast. I just want to listen." And it's just like it's sort of like I don't know. I don't think of the show like that. I mean, I love doing the show, and I know we have listeners, and we got the Slack audience and all that stuff. But these people who find that much enjoyment in the show is pretty darn cool, and it makes it worth the fact that I have not slept well and whatever. Like got off the plane, plugged my microphone in, and now I'm staring at you. Here in Lisbon instead of out enjoying the town or taking a shower or doing anything else. Just
what anybody wants to stare at is me on a computer screen. Ooh, I can't wait to do that again.
Yep.
I thought it was really interesting the way that they did the program this year. I'm also glad to say that Nick Ewan and Summer Hole are by far the best announcers and speakers out of everybody who weren't just reading the teleprompter. So shout out to Nick Ewan and Summer, who we both know very well for not just reading
Other than Nick's pants. We need to reselect on Nick's pants.
And his Christmas tie. That was the cheesiest thing in the world. But if you know the guy, he's almost cheesier than you are, Pizza.
Almost. I felt bad, though, because I know, to be fair, I don't know Gail's music, but Gail was the secret music star that was going to perform. And Gail has opened for Taylor Swift and Pink, and she's legit. My daughter loves her, the whole bit. And so we get done with the program, and the program was not super long, but there were parts of it that kind of dragged, and then they sort of were cramming a bunch of words in the end, and they're bringing some drums up on stage, and then all of a sudden it's Gail, and everybody left to go to the bars, and it was super awkward.
By the time we got a drink and turned around, awkward. Gail was done.
It was super awkward. I'm like, man, what did she get paid to do this? And my daughter would have killed to have been there and groupied up front, and all of these executives just turned around and walked away and streamed out of the room. It was very awkward.
Yeah, I'm not sure we really knew the audience right there, but I mean, she played maybe 3 songs, and then she was out of there, and I'm sure she got a couple $100,000 for that. What?
Yeah, she got more than you or I got to be there. So yeah, that's right. All right. Let's get this thing back on the rails, which isn't going to happen, but let's give it a try. So we got a listener question, and then I did mention it earlier, but in the show notes, if you want to help support the show, if you think we're funny and entertaining, which we are, you can join our Slack community where we have even more fun with weekly happy hours, there are giveaways, and you occasionally get to hear from Mr. Kerr and I. So listener question from Thomas. He says, "Hi, Ed. I love the podcast. I have a large stockpile of Alaska miles, 300,000 to be exact. Do you have any recommendations on how to redeem them?" Mr. Kerr? I know you know all of the things, and I have some very high-level opinions on Alaska miles because I don't collect them, but just my general knowledge of the space. But I know you're more of an expert here than I am, so I'm waiting for a morsel, man. I'm waiting for a morsel.
Alaska's got some really interesting partners, such as Condor and Fiji Airways. And
it might be easier to list who they don't have a partnership with.
Yeah, it's very true because they are in One World now, so they have all of the One World partnerships. But I tell you what, Fiji Airways seems to have pretty decent space to get from the West Coast over to Fiji, and then from Fiji you can go down to all the places in the South Pacific and some really cool, obscure places that Fiji Airways flies to that if you're a country collector is a really good way to go knock off some of those countries, depending on which list you're going on from Fiji Airways. So that's kind of the deal there as well. Now, they have changed things up a little bit, right? There's now this kind of a region-based award chart rather than the partner-based, but it's very easy to find. Still some very reasonable prices, although they are pretty dynamic. So sometimes reasonable, sometimes not so reasonable anymore. I think Alaska used to be the gold standard of loyalty programs in the United States. They are still very close to the top and have some amazing deals. But Fiji Airways, my hidden deal. And then actually on Alaska themselves, there's some really cool places that you can go in Alaska that are really expensive to fly to, and using Alaska miles to burn them. I mean, to do places all the way up into Barrow and then all the way down the Aleutian Island chain, some places that you probably never heard of. I would really take a look at, and they are very reasonably priced from a mile standpoint. Now, that's for main cabin. I find that Alaska's first class on their own product is a little bit more expensive these days, but definitely worthwhile checking all the places that they fly in Alaska.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, they still do free stopovers on awards, right?
Oh man, now you're really gonna have to make me. There's like so many Alaska diehards that are like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I'm pretty sure they do free stopovers, which I think adds an interesting layer. Fiji, I think, is a great use of them. You actually mentioned in pre-show one of the ones that I was going to mention, which is Cathay. Now, I know Cathay isn't anywhere near as prevalent as it was prior to the pandemic. They've really suffered, but still an incredible airline. And there are some other niches here that I think people don't necessarily think about in terms of redeeming miles. And this used to be a much bigger deal now that you've got like United and Delta with more service to Iceland. But Iceland Air is another partner that I think is an interesting one for them. And then, as you mentioned, they've got all the One World partners. So there's a bunch of interesting spots. So in terms of sweet spots, I would say, for Thomas, I would absolutely agree with Kerr on Fiji. I think that they have some really incredible prices for awards to Hawaii as well, because they have a bunch of Hawaii service. So that's another thing I would consider looking at them for. And then I would go with Cathay. I mean, those would be the things that I would look at. I know there are a bunch of folks who use them. Like we have a guest of the show, John Nicol-D'Andrea, and his husband Ben use Alaska to get to South America because that's where their family is from. And so they are great to Latin America and South America. But I haven't ever tried to price that out. I have looked at the Fiji Airways stuff, which I think represents a phenomenal deal. And, having flown Cathay a couple of times for work, I absolutely love the Cathay product. So I think those are some good jobs.
Just the one new partner to call it Starlux, which everybody raves about.
Oh, are they partnered with Starlux?
Yeah. When they came out, it was a great deal to redeem Alaska for Starlux, but I'm looking through the chart now, and it looks like the nonstops are now, 165,000 miles one way, LAX to Taipei. And that's just not. While I would love to fly Starlux,
with surcharges or no? Probably not with surcharges.
No surcharges.
But still
$19.
Yeah,
but 165,000 Alaska miles for one flight. Again, a great looking product. Really wish. I think like the first week or first even couple days it came out as a partner, it was like 60 or 70,000.
Yeah,
should have jumped on that probably, but I probably would have just canceled based on my schedule. But every single day I'm looking at here is 165,000 for business on Starlux. So we'll figure out another way to fly that one day.
One day, not anytime soon. But let's talk a little bit about United's very nuanced changes. They announced it as no changes to status qualification, which they didn't change the headline number, but they changed a few other things that I think fold into the case here. But I think it really stands in stark contrast to where Delta is, because even with Delta's revised status levels, they're still significantly higher than United for what I would call similar level of status. So United says if you don't fly 54 segments with them to get 1K, that you'll need to spend $24,000 in base airfare PQPs. If you do fly 54 flights, your PQPs come in at $18,000. Whereas Delta is $28,000 for Delta Diamond. And at this point, there was a time where I would say Delta Diamond was significantly better than 1K. I wouldn't say that now, having had both of the statuses for the past few years. But where they have made some tweaks in the requirements not changing is they're giving smaller head starts to everyone. So the head start that we all got last year for people who have existing status with United, that head start is cut in half. So, for example, a Premier Silver member gets 250 PQPs, where they would need to earn a minimum of 4,000 to get silver status. And a Premier 1K would get 1,250 PQPs, where they would need to get 18,000 minimum to requalify for 1K. The other big thing that they did, which doesn't surprise me a ton, is that they've now really opened things up for credit card spending, where you used to have just a couple of ways to earn PQPs, and you had to spend a bunch to get a chunk. They've now made it very incremental, where you can earn 25 PQPs for every $500 you spend on a credit card, which will likely keep a lot of people on the hamster wheel. I'm curious what you think about these changes, and I'm curious what you think about them compared to where we know Delta is.
Yeah, I think the big one here is that they the cards within the realm of thinking about using if you're going after status. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of, what was it before? How much did you have to spend to only get like 500 PQPs? It was something.
Oh, it was like 12 grand or some crazy number. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's essentially on par with the new Delta cards of $20 equals 1 PQP, right? If I'm doing this math here correct.
That's on the non-premium cards. I think the premium cards are
Yeah.
$10 equals 1 PQP.
Yeah. So like I have the Quest card. So if I wanted to go really after PQPs hard, people will potentially think about that, even though it's still not a particularly great rate. Otherwise, man, like it's not really, it's kind of like okay, like whatever. 1250 head start even makes achieving gold for me next year very difficult, which is why I think my plan overall, none of this changes my plan to stick with United next year, and then I won't have United status in 25, and we'll look for whatever the next thing is, because I just don't see anything here that's gonna make me strive to achieve the next goal. Like, it's just a lot.
And I know the answer to this, but for the listeners, tell them why you don't want to spend on United credit cards like your Quest card.
Because I'm giving up 3 ultimate rewards per dollar for the next year, or 6 at dining and drugstores. It's like it's
right, or so many others. Like the bonus categories on the United cards, and this is pretty common because it's the same thing for American and pretty much the same for Delta. The bonus categories on the airline credit cards are just not as good as the other co-brand cards. Whether it's, to your point, you got a great offer on Chase Freedom, but even if you didn't have it, you'd get something better from Chase Sapphire Preferred or your Bilt MasterCard.
Yeah. I'm just not going to give up transferable currency to spend for that few PQP. If it was 1 PQP per dollar and I was really enjoying my United experience, then maybe. But yeah, it's just, there's just not enough here to make me divert any more business than I will anyways next year with United. And I'm just not going to spend that much money on United, because with the head start, I'm still short, 6,750 PQP, which is $6,750 of airfare before taxes and fees. Like, I just gonna have to fly other airlines, and I can already tell you I'm growing tired of the Newark experience, just because getting in and out of the city is such a pain. Like, the new terminal is lovely, man, but I can't have to exert that much energy to just figure out how to get from the airport to the office. So I don't know.
Well, and when I look at the math of it, I'll use your example of trying to achieve gold. So if you put your United spend on that card, let's say you bought $5,000 worth of airline tickets, that would generate for you like 250 to 300 extra PQPs. So you have 3 or 4% of what you need. Well, I guess a little bit more than that because you'd have the head start, but not a lot. Like, if you just stuck with the stuff that earned you the best bonus on that card, you wouldn't earn that many extra PQPs. So to your point, to really maximize PQPs here, you're giving up redeemable currency, which maybe in November, December, you would do if you were like, oh gosh, I'm right up against the threshold. I want to requalify for gold or platinum or 1K. I'm going to put, like Summer has done this with Hyatt. Like, I'm going to put, $10,000 or $20,000 on a card that I know doesn't earn the best level of spending, but I'm going to get XYZ for the status for next year. I still think that's a stretch. Like, Hyatt makes a ton of sense to me. I'm sitting in an incredible Mac Daddy suite. Until we thin the elite ranks, I don't think there's a ton of extra value in 1K over platinum status. So the incremental spend is tough. And like I wrote about, and I'll link to this in the show notes. Like I wrote about, I think what this tells me is that United really feels comfortable with the number of elites that they lost in 2023. And that they're pretty close to where they want to be in terms of the number of elites, because they're keeping the qualifications roughly the same. They're giving you a little bit less of a head start. They're kind of encouraging you to spend on the credit card, but it's net about the same. So they must not be concerned. And so, like, what I hope that means is that there is going to be some sort of a reset in 2024, and that the people that are dropping off will actually make it so that a 1K could actually clear some plus points. Because right now, I mean, it's rough out there to clear your plus points, which is probably one of the single biggest benefits left to 1K.
I am very curious to see what happens in February of next year. If when I'm flying back and forth, there's a material difference in what these upgrade lists look like. Because right now, I would say on the return flights from Newark, I'm probably 6 or 7 on the upgrade list lately, which is like, geez, like I don't, fighting over 1 or 2 seats. Which again, upgrades really don't becoming less and less, man. Like I'm flying JetBlue up this week to LaGuardia because I got an even more space seat at booking, and it's going to be more comfortable than the back of a United 319 or whatever. And what's going to be the deal? So we'll see.
Here's a question for you. Let's say you're on the United train next year, and April or May rolls around, and you're effectively 100% for upgrades cleared. Does that change your opinion? And do you now try to maintain status?
I don't looking at these numbers. There's just no way I'm going to maintain 1K for another year, so that's out of the mind. But
Sure.
gold or
Would
platinum,
would you shoot for platinum if you were consistently
Yeah.
clearing all the time as a 1K?
I also think if the in-flight experience is just so different. Flying the new 737 Maxes is wonderful. Flying an old A319 is just not.
Or an old 737 8 or 9 too.
Yeah, really
Both of
old
those.
737 8 or 9. Yeah. It's just not the same experience, which I did fly Delta twice in the last week, and just knowing that like it was going to be as good an experience as you can have domestically flying in the U.S. was just cut out a lot of the stress for stuff because it was going to be consistent. I finally flew the A220, which was wonderful and great. Really enjoyed that comfortable seat. So like I just don't know, man, because I think back to the American days where like was it the best product and best flying experience ever? But was I going to get upgraded 100? No, it wasn't. Was I going to get upgraded 100% of the time? Yeah, I was. And like was I earning valuable American miles? Yeah, I was. So it was worth it, and it's just not going to be the case. I still can't believe American hadn't brought that route back. I'm like, everybody else is flying between New York and Atlanta 20 times a day, and American's just like, no, we're not doing it at all. Like, come on, like, bring it back, please.
And this is sort of what I struggle with because I have 3.4 million lifetime miles on American. Now, not all that was button seat. I have effectively call it 1 million button seat miles on American, and I'm getting close to 1 million on United. And I really enjoyed my American experience now mine was, much earlier than yours was, but I can't say there's anything specific where I'm like over the top in love with what United or Delta are doing. And maybe if I was flying a heavy diet of American, I'd feel the same way. I don't know. I do have a bit of nostalgia for the way things were there. I think it'll be interesting for me, at least, to see, like, call it probably about a year away from lifetime status on United, lifetime million miler. Old, as you like to remind me of frequently. And the chances I'm going to fly a second million on United are pretty slim. So at that point, it's like, all right, well, I've achieved my lifetime status. If it's up to me, what am I flying? And it's, who's going to get my connecting traffic, which is, call it 30% of my travel. And I don't really know the answer right now. We'll just have to see. To your point, how these lists clear out. I mean, if I'm consistently clearing upgrades as a 1K on United, okay. I mean, then, I think the thing to think about there, and I know we talk about the dregs of planes and broken Wi-Fi and stuff like that. As much as I like to beat on United, it is getting better. There are a lot of new planes coming into the fleet. We've talked about this on the show. I would love to be on the A220 for Delta, but I don't have access to it at Dulles. United is rolling out lots of new planes. And so there is something to be said for by the time I have to make this decision and by the time you have to make the decision, 2025, they're going to have another 30, 40, 50 narrow bodies in the fleet by then. They're getting somewhere around the rate of like one a week. Is that enough at that point that we're done with the dogs of the fleet? I don't know. But if they're all new planes at that point and Delta and American don't have another compelling value prop for us, I still think that United miles are more valuable than Delta by a wide margin. To some degree, I would say in some ways I find them equally as valuable as American for different reasons. I think United miles for me at a Dulles to get to Europe or it's like there's always a way. So there's some value to be had there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It will be. By this time next year, yeah, I can't wait to see who I'm going to be flying in 2025 and why.
Yep.
I really have.
And
have
Southwest
no idea.
is still in that. It's still Southwest. Is
I was
still
about to
in that
say,
picture?
and maybe it'll be Southwest because of all this. Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking to a few people at the conference, and they were just saying how bad they were listening to the podcast, and they were saying, I used to have this status, and since they have no status anymore, how freeing it is that they just book whatever they want. And to be fair, I'm kind of booking whatever I want in the last month anyways, but yeah, it would be nice to not have to just worry about it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. As I said, we got about a year to figure it out. I'll have lifetime at that point. You'll have exhausted your 1K. We'll be having this conversation, staring at each other across the digital ocean, as it were, Mr. Curry.
You're so corny, man. Can I ask the same question for hotels? I posted this in one of our group texts last night where I said, I probably have 10 more. I actually made an Instagram story poll about it this morning. I probably have 10 more paid nights for the year in hotels, and I don't know whether to go Marriott or Hyatt. And people were like, what? And I mean, the argument to me is,
if you're watching on video, I have just closed my eyes and sunk my head down.
But it's a legitimate argument, which Howie in our group text acknowledge. Okay, the portals are now accurately paying out my 7% cash back on Marriott stays. So 7% cash back in my pocket plus Swan and Dolphin points, which I need, or do you keep trying to inch your way towards Hyatt Lifetime Globalist and more Hyatt points? Like I legitimately don't know. 100% see the merit in both, and I'm like, do I want 7% back on paid hotel stays and Swan and Dolphin points, which I will use 100%, and it'll be
You will.
nice.
You'll
Or do
use
I
the
want
Hyatt
more
points too.
I know, but actually I haven't used the Hyatt points as much as I thought I would this year. I think it's just because it's harder to get away for fun stuff. I don't know. Which one are you doing?
Oh, you know which one I'm doing. I mean, I'm telling you to go the Hyatt route because you did what you said you wanted to do. You got Marriott status, and while I didn't love the idea, I acknowledged it. And so part of that was you wanted to also build up your stash of Swan Dolphin points. So how many Marriott points do you have right now?
I'm back up to 350,000 now, which is like
You're
6
good.
or 7 nights of Swan and Dolphin.
Maybe 5,
Maybe.
but yeah, it's hard to
Maybe
say.
5. Yeah, maybe 5.
But so here's the thing, and where are you in terms of Lifetime Globalist? Are you halfway or more than halfway?
No, man, I'm not even halfway, dude. It's my first 10 years of Hyatt stays in Globalist and Diamond were free nights. It's only since it is many, many years until I am at Lifetime Globalist, and who knows what the program will even be by then. That I think it's silly sitting here at 37 years old and probably at least 10 years away from Lifetime, at least probably more than 15 or 20 to even worry.
I don't know.
About
I mean, it depends. Your New York hotel rates are,
dude, they're wild. Yeah.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
week, I got to go for 2 nights, and man, there's nothing for less than $500. It is wild.
Yeah, that helps you get there quickly. There was a lot of that in my past to get there with Hyatt. And how many Hyatt points do you have?
How many points? Like 150,000 right now in the Hyatt account, right? We can obviously tack on build and chase.
Yeah, but you got equivalent number of Hyatt and Marriott points in terms of what you can redeem for. Yeah, I'd still lean towards Hyatt, and I know I'm biased, but I think, look, I'm in an incredible room here. When I checked in, the hotel was super awesome upon check-in. I got off the elevator, and a woman was standing there talking with a colleague, and she turned to me, "Oh, Mr. Pizzarella, let me walk you to your room." Lifetime Globalist is just off the hook. And so, if I had the chance to earn more Marriott points, or while you were having large, painful New York City hotel rates, I'd be crediting those to Hyatt for the progress. That would be me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'll decide 24 hours before I leave for New York this week.
Put it this way: the cheaper the room rate is, the more likely I am to lean towards Marriott, just because A, it's not getting you much progress, and B, there's likely some sort of a multiplier out there with quarterly promos and stuff like that. And because Marriott hotel stays do earn a decent amount of points, especially if you have a good promo, which we don't always have. But when the rates are $400 or $500 a night, man, hammer it down on Hyatt Globalist. Catch up, man. I'm waiting for you.
It's so. I think I'm only at 300,000, and you got to get 1 million lifetime points, and that's just point per dollar, not including taxes and fees on hotel rooms. $1 million you got to spend. Yeah, and I think after I got on the Hyatt train in 2011, I think, and haven't gotten off. So 12 years, I'm a third of the way there. That's pretty brutal. Yeah. But again, like I said, most of that, the first 10 years, was all awards days.
Yeah. 2 quick hits, and then let's get out of here. First off, and these are just the notification mostly for folks, and we'll link to them in the show notes. First off, the British Airways AARP discount is back. This has always been a solid one. Not that it's a huge discount. I think it's either $200 or $250 off of a paid business class ticket. But I think membership for AARP is $16.
Yeah,
somewhere in that nature. So definitely something to look at if you're going to be booking a British Airways flight. Totally worth getting the AARP membership. And then Monkey Miles has a story that our buddy Spencer from Straight to the Point seems to have found that you're going to be able to book your Hyatt suite upgrades online. I don't view this as monumental, but it's probably one of the highest friction points I have with the Hyatt program is having to call someone, tell them the suite name that I'm trying to book, and juggle stuff around and things like that. So definitely a positive for Hyatt from a technology standpoint.
Yeah, looking forward to trying it out. I was actually searching again last night. Right now I was recording to see if I saw any of this live anywhere, and I don't yet, but it'll be interesting to see how that's rolled out.
Yeah, and tomorrow morning, Mr. Kerr, while you are fast asleep, I will be eating my breakfast 10 feet that way on my balcony overlooking the bridge and the boats.
Because room service is included in free Globalist breakfast, probably?
Globalist upgrades. Let's see. Hold on. So this is what you get. Blah, 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 blah. Free bottled water, late checkout, daily complimentary breakfast. Doesn't say whether it's room service or not. They have a Globalist happy hour, which unfortunately I missed recording with you. Man, free open bar, food and snacks, 15% discount at the juice and salad bar. Okay, I won't be using that, but it is a nice benefit.
Did you say 16% or 15%?
15%. 15% discount for Zest, the juice and salad bar. My wife would love that. I'm going to use absolutely none of that, but got a nice big bowl of fruit from them. Got a very warm welcome, and the property is beautiful.
Enjoy your week in Europe.
Yeah. And by the time I get back, I should know whether I'm going to Auckland or not, or if I'm going to go to Disney for a couple of days. So maybe you should just take off and come to Disney with me for a couple of days.
We already got the Disney week planned. We're going for Moonlight Magic at Animal Kingdom. Fingers crossed we get a spot. Still working.
Go again. You have an annual pass. It doesn't cost you anything.
My annual pass just expired. Man. I gotta renew. Yeah. But I'm holding off so that it doesn't start the ticker until I use the new one. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're in a good unique spot because they already just did the price increase. So you're not gonna. In theory, you're not gonna hit it with another price increase. As long as they don't stop selling them in the next few weeks, you should be great.
They can't do that for DVC members, can they? That would suck.
They can do whatever they want. They did it for DVC members during COVID.
Yeah. Oh, now you're making me nervous. All right.
That's what I'm here for, man. I'm here for you. All right. Well, I will be. Let's see when we record again. Where will I be? I'll be back in the U.S. and we may be at a race for my daughter. And I know I said we're out of here, but I'm going to tell a quick proud dad story. She raced in the state championships this weekend. She's by far not the fastest kid at state, so we knew she wasn't going to medal. And she's this is her final cross country race of her high school career, which is dad is kind of cool to be there for. She hurt her ankle during the run, and as she was coming down the stretch to the end of the 5K, on the second to last turn, I saw her go down, and I was like, oh, man, this is how it's going to end. And, her coach saw her but was running the other way and didn't see her fall, and he's, yelling at her to run fast, and I'm running towards her because I see her fall, and she just yanks the back of the shoe in some sort of a way and, gets up, and she... Not only did she finish, dude, but she came around that last turn and just kicked it hard. And she was in tears and she hurt herself the whole bit, but it would have been so easy to give up in that moment. She knows she's not going to win a medal. That's not what she's there for. She's there to run in the state championships. She is legitimately hurt. There is no shame in just underneath the rope and go get medical attention, and she's like, nope, I'm gonna finish. And I was just in that moment, she actually asked her mom after the race, she's like, are you disappointed in me? And it's like, how could we be disappointed? Like in that moment where tons of people would have quit, she's like, I'm gonna make it across the line. So
she got that Kerr hustle in her. That's what
yeah,
so we have no athletic ability and all hustle.
Well, we've confirmed she has much more athletic ability than anybody on this podcast.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, well, enjoy your time at home. I will see you back on the other side of the pond. I don't know when. Maybe in December if we cross paths at Disney, but I'm not sure. I think we got our fair share of each other the last few weeks. Just to reiterate,
it just said he's tired of me, ladies and gentlemen.
All three. Not only did I hit the over, I got all three. I got the trifecta.
Everybody's wildly impressed that you made all three. We're very happy.
The Kerr pizza trifecta. And inevitably, by the time January rolls around, you will be ridiculing me for not showing up to something again. So
probably, yeah.
The cycle will begin again. All right, Mr. Kerr, safe. I can't say safe travels. You're home. Enjoy your time at home until we upload again. We got miles to go.
I know you've been gone.